Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the President of Latvia, Mr. Raimonds Vējonis.
Paldies.
Thank you. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th anniversary of the Great Cleanup Campaign. It is not really an anniversary, but we have many things to celebrate. Over the recent 10 years, my name is Valdis Melderis, and it is an honor for me to take every opportunity to take part in the big cleanup campaigns events. I would like to start with thanking all the supporters, coordinators, and presidents, because the presidents of Latvia have always been closely associated with the big cleanup campaign and have supported them morally or through their presence. And it is one of the reasons that the big cleanup campaign has achieved so much. We will look back a little into the recent 10 years, but the most important thing is to remember that indeed 10 years have passed. We have graduated from the first grade, but still the goal remains the same. Latvia must remain the greenest country in the world, although it sounds ambitious. When Vita and her supporters and colleagues started, it all looked unrealistic, unfeasible, but year by year, the big cleanup campaign has been achieving one goal after the other. I would like to ask the President of Latvia to open this event. Dear organizers and coordinators and supporters of the big cleanup campaign, dear participants of the big cleanup campaign, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, it is a genuine pleasure for me to welcome you to Riga Castle today, and the reason is very special why we meet. As we remember how the big cleanup campaign was established and the first event took place in the year 2008 to celebrate the 90th anniversary of the Republic of Latvia. 10 years have passed, and this year we celebrate the centenary of our country. And over these years, the big cleanup campaign has achieved its goal. We have actively participated in cleaning up our country. We have made Latvia even more green, even more orderly, and still we have many things to do. But what is very important is that over the recent 10 years, the big cleanup campaign has become an irretrievable part of the behavior of society and an irretrievable part of the tradition of our nation. Tradition which in the first cleanup campaigns brought together individuals. Now it has become a family tradition. It is important for us to have strong and active families that involve both experienced and young people doing something in common. And that is a strong aspect of the cleanup campaign, to do things together with one and the same goal, to do Latvia better, to make Latvia better. Through participation, we make our country better. And if we look at the map, Latvia may seem a small country, but it is the only state that we have. And that is why it is very important for us all together to take care for the only state that we have, the only state that we can speak Latvian in, and where we can educate our children. Without our active participation, there will be no country. I would like to thank you very much. The cleanup campaign does not mean only collecting garbage, only tidying up environment. We have, I think, already passed to the next level on which the cleanup campaign carries out the mental cleanup, puts our thoughts in order, and probably cleanses us from some negative properties, negative features that we have in society, such as envy, laziness, features that must be vices, that must be replaced by unity, by solidarity, by the ability to stand together as one force ready to turn mountains and to do everything possible to make life better. And of course, to do different small and big things together, because it is we all together that make our country. And that is why I would like to thank everybody for active support to the cleanup campaign. It is thanks to you that coordination takes place in the regions of Latvia. We know that an individual has always been a very important element for any good and sometimes even bad things to be implemented. And that is why I would like to thank you all once again very much, especially those who have been part of the campaign from the very start. I would like to express my special gratitude to the coordinator of the big cleanup campaign, Vita Jaunzeme. She has always been the driving force, the source of energy, which has motivated everyone to take part. She has given strength at moments when we have lacked strength, and this has allowed us to make the cleanup campaign a tradition of our nation. Thank you, Vita, personally. And I would like to avail myself of the opportunity and present a gift to you. Thank you, everybody, once again. And I wish you continue the good work in making Latvia the greenest and the tidiest country in the world. Thank you, Mr. President. Vita is usually the person who says, not me, I will not speak. But she just needs to be given an opportunity. She has many things to say. Let us welcome Vita. Good afternoon, good morning, Mr. President, Mr. former President, coordinators, supporters. I must say that I really don't want to speak about the cleanup campaign, because the cleanup campaign is us. Shall we say that we collected thus and thus many tons of garbage and removed it? Because it is ourselves that littered. We can give ourselves an order, a state award. But apart from thanking you all, everyone who is in this hall, everyone who is watching us live, I would like to thank everyone who believed in our crazy idea 10 years ago, believed that this is possible, that it is possible to continue the cleanup campaign. 500,000 people have been involved in those 10 years, but I don't want to speak about the cleanup campaign. The country is 100 years ago. We were born, there was childhood, there was teenage years, there was protest, protest. They was looking for our way. But now I have a feeling that we, together with our country, are thinking that we are already 100 years ago. And I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that we behave as if we were retired people 100 years ago, 100 years old. But the cleanup campaign shows us that we have enormous strengths. We are well aware where we are born, where our roots lay, and we must take care of our own root. Nobody else will. And I would like to invite you to drop off, to reject the thinking that we are already a mature country, that we are retired and may rest on laurels. No, we cannot. Everything only starts. As Professor Gunter Pauli says, everything only starts. Let us spread our wings. Let us move forward. The cleanup campaign enters a new phase. But the story is not about the cleanup campaign. The story is about our country, about the ways that we shall celebrate our 200 years anniversary, how our children will look like. We will not meet ourselves in 100 years, but how our children will look like. Will they be healthy? Will they have a healthy and clean country, or will they be ill with polluted nature? And will they have the reason to say our ancestors left us a country like that? And that is why let's move forward. Let us make Latvia the most sustainable, the greenest, the richest country in the world. I would like it all to come true. I would like us to bring our thoughts together, and I would like us to succeed and to move forward. Thank you all.
Tā bija mana īsā runa.
This is my short speech. As Valdis said, it is a strange tradition for our country. Presidents have always stood side by side with a nation at all times. And from the very day of this cleanup campaign, Valdis Zatlers, the former president of Latvia now, became the patron of the cleanup campaign. And that is why I would like to invite former President Valdis Zatlers to the stage and to share with us your wish or whatever you want to say. But my personal thank you very much from my own personal part. Excellency, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all the authors of the idea, and then I would like to thank all the organizers, and then I would like to thank all the participants of the cleanup campaign simply for having this cleanup campaign. When 10 years ago Vita came to me somewhat excited and shared her idea with me, it took me approximately 3 seconds to agree the invitation to become a patron, because this idea has been inside me already for some time, and I saw the potential of the idea of the cleanup campaign. It was a great honor, it was a duty and a privilege, and also a great joy and satisfaction to be the patron of the cleanup campaign. Over the 10 years, the cleanup campaign has had considerable achievements and development. In the first years, we were happy that the number of the collected garbage bags increases. But now we are happy that the number of garbage bags decreases because there is less garbage. And the cleanup campaign is not only collecting garbage, but also the meaning of the cleanup campaign means improving environment. I think all the members of the parliament, all the statesmen must not only take part in the cleanup campaign, but on the day of the cleanup campaign, they should report on the changes that have taken place in the country over the year, changes that would improve the environment in the country. Dear participants of the cleanup campaign, your work has changed the way of thinking of the people and the perception of people. While we consider ourselves yourselves masters of this beautiful country. You have achieved that people have started to think in a different category. Namely, people have become aware that we must be grateful that we are part of this country, and this country is the reason why we succeed. And this is the greatest success story of the cleanup campaign, namely the change of the way of thinking. And that is why my wish is continue in the same way, and see you next year. Thank you.
Ņem mikrofonu.
I'm taking over the microphone. Thank you, Mr. Zatlers, as the first patron. Thank you very much to President Vejonis as the present patron. We have achieved a lot in our 10th anniversary, in the 100th anniversary. Let us go ahead as much as we can. But we have one more patron, President Bērziņš, ex-President Bērziņš, who couldn't be present today, but he has sent a letter, and I will read it to you. Thinking of Latvia, our thoughts are always around the sea, the woods, the meadows, which is our asset, just like the people. Let us protect our assets for our children and grandchildren. Let us teach them about the interaction of the environment and the people, and remind them how important it is to take care of the environment. Thank you to all the campaigners, participants of the Great Cleanup Campaign, for maintaining our country clean. Faithfully, Andris Bērziņš. Thank you to everyone. Valdis, I'm leaving now. Thank you, Vita. On behalf of the organizers of the Great Cleanup Campaign, I would like to thank the sponsors of the Great Cleanup Campaign. It would be difficult to accomplish what we have done without them so well. Thank you to Riga Freeport, State Forests, Clean Air, the Foundation of Protection of Air of Latvia, other companies, the Ministry of Environment and Regional Development, Radio 2, the media companies. Thank you. As Vita mentioned already, after regaining independence, all the presidents of Latvia have taken some part in the Great Cleanup Campaign. Among them, there are not only patrons, but ambassadors, rather, of the Great Cleanup Campaign, and those were Vaira Vīkķa Freiberga and Guntis Ulmanis. We have a message from our ex-presidents in video format. It is not about the cleanup campaign, but about our goal to make Latvia the greenest country in the world.
Planet, they said it is the blue planet. But from that place on Earth, where Latvia is situated, we think it's a green planet, because our country is green. We ourselves feel that we are fresh and green. As a nation that has not been on the world stage more than 100 years as an independent country, we are going to celebrate our 100th anniversary, and we hope that we continue to bloom and to flourish for the next 100 years and many beyond that.
Paldies. Applause.
Applause from the audience, please.
Mūsu dzīve, darbi,
Our life, works, dreams,
prieki un bēdas
joys and sorrows
vienmēr saistīti ar Latvijas
have always been related to
zaļotām.
the green nature of Latvia.
Tāpēc ikdienā un svētkos
Therefore,
strādājot vai atpūšot,
on daily basis
vienmēr darīsim tā,
or during festivities, when working
Latvijā
or when
kļūtu skaistāka,
resting,
varenāka.
let us do our best to make our green nature more beautiful,
Darīsim tā,
greener, more impressive.
būtu mūžam dzīve
Let us
un apusē
make sure that the green nature thrives forever and mutually. Believe me, the green nature gives us enormous power, energy to live and to make our life as we want it. Thank you very much. Today we have not only a solemn meeting where we thank the people who have contributed to the cleanup campaign, but also a meeting where we can look 10 or 20 steps ahead, as everything is continuing and just beginning, as Vita said. And I would like to present our special guest, and you will have the opportunity to get inspired from his words. But before that, I must thank the organizers of this specific meeting and supporters, the Latvia State Forests. You may applaud here. The Institute of France in Latvia. And Hotel Pullman. But most of all, we will thank those people who, for 10 years, have coordinated the Great Cleanup Campaign in their municipalities. There is someone who knows where help is needed, someone who cooperates with all the stakeholders, someone who has not given up for 10 years and has persisted despite of what others say about it, despite some failures, despite some people may have asked why I have to pick up after some other people who have left garbage there, but they didn't give up. So I would like to thank these people. So the coordinators of the Great Cleanup Campaign locally are welcome to the stage. Please meet them with applause. Ojārs Kramiņš from Salaspils municipality.
Zenta Igolniece, Preļļu novads. Ginta Gailīte, Strenču novads. Dace Jansone, Kuldīgas novads. Sigita Varika, Ķekavas novads. Jānis Sirlaks, Priekuļu novads. Elvīra Pizāne, Rēzeknes novads. Māris Zviedris, Rīga. Guntis Bašķis, Valkā. Dita Laura, Sigulda. Aira Balde, Sigulda. Antra Krievāne, Naukšēni. Un Laura Apkalne, Rīga.
Mr. President, may I ask for your help to present the awards to the coordinators of the Great Cleanup Campaign? Applause from the audience. And now, would you please stand for a joint photo? We need to applaud a little more, and the official part is almost over. Thank you very much. Dear guests, participants of the cleanup campaign, I have a special pleasure to announce a person who has traveled 4 continents, spoken in about 100 different countries, and can inspire people indeed. But before that, I would like to see all of those who are ready to support the idea of the Great Cleanup Campaign, the Green Latvia, and a little poll, except for Mr. President, of course. Please stand up, those of you who have taken part in the Great Cleanup Campaign, at least once. And the rest, please applaud them. Thank you very much. Next time, when you hear that someone doubts if Latvia can become the greenest country in the world, someone who is almost ready to prove with the facts that it is not realistic, then stand up for this idea, because you are the proof that it is possible. And now, to have a wider perspective on what we have done so far and on our future, I would like to briefly introduce our guest, who is here today with us to give us an opportunity to learn and to get inspired. Our guest is a professor who has inspired with the originality of his ideas and charisma in many areas where he has worked himself in the governmental and non-governmental sector, as well as in private business, being the leader of many organizations, has founded a number of organizations, companies himself, Secretary General of the Media Federation, advisor to the rector of the UNO University in Tokyo, has founded a zero emission initiative in Tokyo, which was the beginning of the worldwide network of cooperation of zero initiative, and for the first time has worked together with Latvian scientists in 1994. So this is not the first time. He is a member, a fellow of the World Academy of Arts and Sciences, has published 20 books, has also created 365 fables for children, and one of them is already published in Latvia and accessible to all of us. Welcome, the man who is also the author of the Blue Economy idea globally, Professor Gunter Pauli.
Thank you. Professor, welcome to the green country, Latvia.
Thank you. Well, first of all, my apologies for not standing up, because I didn't participate in your cleanup campaign. But I promise I'll do better the next time. Your Excellency the President, Your Excellency's friends from Latvia, it gives me a very great pleasure to be here 24 years after my first visit to Riga. And I think it is very opportune to salute especially the person who made me come, not with great force, made me come 24 years ago, who is Dr. Yanis Gravitis. Please, Yanis, stand up. I must tell you the story why I came to Riga. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences had made an analysis after the collapse of the Soviet Union, which research center, which scientific powerhouse existed that we in Western Europe did not know. And they had spotted from Sweden the Latvian Wood Research Institute, the chemistry of wood. And the advice of the president of the committee of the Royal Academy of Sciences to the United Nations was, you must learn to know how Latvia over decades had developed a very unique knowledge in wood chemistry. Science is key in the future of a country. And when I learned to know Dr. Gravitis, it didn't take me very long to appreciate his work, the work of his team. And what I could not resist doing is I invited Dr. Gravitis to come to Tokyo to work with me. He was the first Latvian to get a residence permit in Japan. And his daughter is probably the first Latvian who learned fluent Japanese and became a translator. This is my little link with your country. I continue to visit your country, but my credibility today here is not so much related to Latvia. It's related to this incredible network of scientists, like, of course, our dear friend Jānis Grevītis, that has permitted me to develop projects that are very innovative, very disruptive, but they're based on science. I therefore invite you as a country to continue your great tradition of science and not forget that science is building in the future. Today, I have implemented more than 200 projects around the world. Our initiatives have mobilized more than 5 billion euro in capital investments. It means innovation, disruptive innovation, is today followed by capital. That was not the case 25 years ago. This is new. So I earned the title through the media that I'm considered to be the Steve Jobs of sustainability. But you know who said that? It was the Huffington Post. You know the Huffington Post? Now, the Huffington Post is an American avant-garde newspaper. And on the day of the election for president in the United States, they claimed that President Trump had 2% chance to be elected. They were wrong. So when they call me Steve Jobs of sustainability, they're wrong. My friends in Latin America, though, they call me the Che Guevara of sustainability. That's why I have to put on a tie, a nice shirt and a jacket, not to be confused with Che Guevara. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to share you where I come from. Yes, I was born in Belgium. But these were my formative years in Japan, living on tatami. Even today, for me, the most inspiring sight is the rice paper window with the shades of the flowers moving all day. It inspires me to think creatively. My sons today also love tatami, sitting on the floor, being void of all the things that we always have. And even my dogs, sorry, I have to show my dogs. Even my dogs like it. It's very important to have you surrounded in a life that in the end is simple. Because when you have internal simplicity, you can do crazy things outside. The philosophy of the blue economy, and let me be honest, if you don't like the color blue, use another color. I'm not stuck with a color. If you want to call it green or orange or yellow, it's all the same for me. The key is the principles. First is use what you have. The second is that it has to be sustainable. Now, sustainable does not mean protect anymore. Sustainable for us means regenerate. Create again this environment where nature can develop naturally. Of course, it has to be innovative. We have to go beyond what we know. And that means that if you want to be innovative, you also have to be competitive. The capacity to outcompete does not mean you have to be the cheapest. does not mean you have to have the exploitation of your nature. To be competitive means that you offer more value. And we must respond to basic needs. What is needed in your community? Everyone must have their basic needs met. Here you see a picture of my daughter, Chido. She's 32. We adopted her when she was 11 years old. And she goes to the villages in Africa. She's from Zimbabwe. She goes to the villages in Africa and she goes to the farms and says, "You have waste of coffee from the farm? Within 2 weeks, I can farm mushrooms on your waste." Women who earn $1 a day, perhaps $1 a day, they realize that their waste is actually some material to produce food. 2 weeks later, they will have their first harvest. You know what these women do? When they hear this, they get up, they sing, they dance, and they do it. You know what the Europeans want? Europeans want business plans. Strategic plans, expert committees, scientific audits, and they do nothing. Today, your campaign is a campaign of people who do. Did you write a business plan? No. Did you write a strategic plan? No. What you did is you got people to patronize you and do it. The spirit of transformation in society is doing it because you believe you can achieve results. We have to create more value. And I will give some examples also for Latvia. What could be done in Latvia with the value? But let me insist, science is the basis. A country that is not investing in science is a country that is not building a future. And you have great science. You remember him, right? I was fortunate yesterday to be guided by Professor Arnolds to see the city for 2.5 hours walking, discovering. But what interested me is that the basis of your chemistry is 100 years old. It is not coincidence. And therefore, we have to sometimes wonder, how come those satellites that go around the world in the Soviet times and today for Russia and China lands on the land and the Americans have to plunge it into the sea? Why? Well, it's because there's some very creative scientists in Riga who decades ago were the only ones to develop ceramics from wood. And the ceramics from wood create a heat shield around the satellites, which the Americans do not know how to make. That means their heat shield is such that they must plunge it into the water. Whereas thanks to Latvian scientists, the return of people to Earth was made viable with wood ceramics. How much are you investing in science in wood chemistry today? I don't think you're doing much anymore. So shall we open a museum and think about the past? Or shall we imagine the chemistry of your incredible forests for the future? I came here and I'm here today because you do have a culture of wood and forest and chemistry. and innovation. And I would like to celebrate that. In my heart and soul, I'm an entrepreneur. This was one of the businesses I created in 1991. This was the first zero-emission factory. No waste, nothing. So this is Monday morning, and no cars. No, there is no strike. What happened is that I paid the people €0.50 per kilometer to ride the bicycle to work. And you know, for €0.50, everyone rides the bicycle. It's sometimes simple to motivate people. And of course I was told, this must be expensive. No. Do you know how expensive it is to have 100 parking places? With light, with entry, with security. So, all the money for the parking distributed to all my employees was 5 years per kilometer, €0.50. Everyone riding the bicycle. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to be pragmatic. Unfortunately, when you study an MBA, a Master of Business, they don't teach you that. They teach you to be strategic and to write plans. We need surprises in the business. We need new things. And let me share this experience from Argentina. The president of Argentina, Mauricio Macri, had asked me to imagine what can we do with our forests. I look at the forests, and many people see wood. You Latvians, you would see mushrooms. And you know what I see? I see yeast. This is yeast. Of course, if you have a healthy forest, you have yeast in the forests. And what do we do with yeast? You make bread, beer, wine, fermented mushrooms, fermented salads. You ferment all your food. You know fermentation. But my question to you is, just like the Argentinians, how many companies are there in Latvia that produce domesticated yeast for sale around the world? I haven't found one yet. Do you know the yeast market in the world is €10 billion? Did you know that 80% of all the yeast in the world are 15 types of yeast? 15, 1-5. And they're all genetically manipulated? Would you like to have a beer with wild yeast from Latvian forests? Or would you like to have a beer with genetically modified yeast from Canada? Of course, any beer drinker will want to have the wild yeast from Latvia. So my suggestion to you is, turn it into a business. My calculation of my team is that you probably will generate 25,000 jobs if you take 5% of the world market. My scientists tell me that Latvia most likely has 1,000 varieties of wild yeast. Your science does not have a yeast bank. Let's get going. It's part of your tradition. It's part of your culture. And we have already started without Latvia. This is Heineken beer, and you can read on the bottom, made with wild mother yeast from Patagonia. Ladies and gentlemen, wood is sold per ton. yeast is sold per gram. I think it makes sense for a community and a society like yours to think in grams. And your rye bread is extraordinary. You know it. But what about your yeast? Where is the mother yeast coming from? Are you ready to sell it internationally? And I think these are the small things that I just want to share with you. You look at the reality of your forest, you see a new one. With Thomas from the Forestry Institute, we have agreed we're going to organize a yeast safari in Latvia. We would like young people to learn that your forests are full of great things to make beer, to make wine, to make a lot of great food. We have to be positive about the future. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most important challenges we have is that our children are bombarded with bad news. Everything looks bad. Climate is going bad. It's too dry. It's too hot. Unemployment. 300,000 Latvians left you. What's the good reason for coming back? Give them a reason to come back and contribute to the nation. So let me talk about one of our partner projects we achieved in Germany. Of course, if you talk to the Germans, it's better to talk about pigs. They like to eat pigs. So the big challenge was, how can we increase productivity of the pig? And the Germans don't want genetic pigs. They want a good German pig. We, with science, learned that if the pig lives together with the chicken, productivity increases. This is not genetics. This is very simple. Pigs plus chicken. There they are. And the pigs and the chickens live together. The pigs don't eat the chickens. The pigs protect the chickens from the fox. When they're pigs, there is no fox. The chickens are happy and safe. The chicken will eat all the parasites on the pig. No need for medicine. But they all live together in these houses. And people say, you are crazy, putting houses for the pigs and the chickens. Does the European Union allow you to put them together? And we say, we don't ask. We just do. The result is that the pigs are living together with the chickens, but the pigs, before they go into the house, must go to the toilet. Every pig we teach to go to the toilet takes 3 days. You know what it means if you don't have to clean the pig house? You save 40% of the cost. So, a dog you can train to go clean, the pigs you can train in 3 days. It took me much longer with my son. In 3 days he's there. He was not clean in 3 days. But the pig gives warmth in the winter, and the chicken in the winter normally lays less eggs. But if the pigs are downstairs giving warmth, the pigs lay more eggs. We increase the productivity of eggs, chicken, and pig by 34%. We increase the quality of the food. And what is interesting, what scientists did not know, is that when the pigs live for 1 year, they have more omega-3 than salmon. That means we can sell pork for the price of salmon. You know what it is? Times 4. And this is the result. You see the house. The pig farmer is a very wealthy man. This is Bavaria. but the capacity to charge 4 times more allows you to have a quality of meat that is unparalleled in the world. This model is being copied. And small nations can copy this model because it is using what you have. Of course, I translate everything into children's stories. Because if you don't inspire the children, you will have no future. I have committed to write a story inspired by the work of the Institute of Dr. Gravitis on why do you plunge into the water or why do you land on the earth, the soil. And I know that probably 10 to 20 Latvian children will be very inspired and become doctor in wood chemistry. But as you may know, all my fables are published in China. In all the schools in China, they read my fables. That's 345 million readers. I think 10% of those Chinese children, 1% of the Chinese children visiting, seeing the school, learning about Latvia, knowing about your wood chemistry, maybe 1% would like to come to Riga to visit. Are you ready for 3 million Chinese? You're not ready. A bit too much. Imagine that 1% of the 1% wants to study wood chemistry. Is your university ready for 30,000 Chinese students in wood chemistry? You're not ready. I saw the empty building of your university downtown. Maybe you can fill it up again. You know, we have to be creative in the way we go forward. And that means we have to think differently about so much. Let's talk about plastics. Do you know how many bottles we use today? 1 million per second. The world has gone crazy. This doesn't make sense. 1 million plastic bottles per second. I mean, who is in charge of such, I'm sorry to say, stupidity? Who's in charge of this? Are they biodegradable? They're of course not biodegradable. And you cannot put them in the soil because it's too many. So they end up somewhere else. They don't degrade in the sun because we block the ultraviolet. And whereas the sun normally would get all the bacteria out of my beard, the sun today in plastics has no more effect because of the oxides, the metal oxides we put in there. And what about the sea? Well, what we forget is that the sea is salt. And salt is a conservation agent. You know that. So plastics put in the sea, even biodegradable plastics in the sea, are conserved, are preserved forever. Who's in charge of that? We need some creative chemists there. We need to think differently on how we do it. So I have led a company called Novamont. Do you know this plant? It's the thistle. This is called a weed. We have a lot of it all around the world, and we spray it with chemicals to kill it. But every year it comes back. So we have created in Italy 4 factories transforming the weeds that we used to kill with glyphosates. We transform them into plastics, into lubricants, into capsules for coffee, 100% biodegradable. And we do this with a very big surprise that while we are producing in Sardinia, on the island in Italy, the first plastics from cardoon, from thistles, a lady comes to visit us and says, "Do you have this white dust on the flowers?" And we check, and yes, we have white dust. She said, "Could I have some?" And we gave her some. And then our engineer said, "And what do you use it for?" She said, "That dust of the flower I need to make goat cheese. Bacterial enzymes to ferment the goat cheese." We check, we have 2,000 tons. You know, 2,000 tons of enzymes for goat cheese is enough to make all the cheese in Italy all year. Sometimes we forget what we have. But our factories in Italy only operate in old factories that are not useful anymore. We help the old industry to exit. I have seen a few empty factories here. We need to identify the new businesses that can occupy those again. In Italy, we've done it 4 times. I'm sure we can do more. We can also do it here. That means we always want to scan for opportunities. We make abstraction of the problems because they're very well described. We want to focus on what are all the new opportunities. Since you are a forest country, a country with incredible extensions, with, I'm sure, very often temptations to cut more wood than nature can regenerate, because it's cash up front. Look at what we have built up in Colombia. We started in 1984 in a region where 70% of the population had gastrointestinal diseases because of the bad quality of water. Nearly everyone was without a job. Survival economics. The forest had been destroyed 250 years ago by the Spanish colonizers. We took it over. And we regenerated this forest. And we started tapping the trees. We started tapping the trees for resin. And we built a factory for colophon, which is an ingredient for the paint industry. We were told by economics experts that we cannot compete against the Chinese. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you that we have kicked the Chinese out of the market. We don't have to be impressed by the Chinese in everything. If you have a forest like you have, your forest products will kick the Chinese out of the market. And don't invite them to invest. It's your value. We have done that in Colombia with the regenerated forests. When you make colophonia, and for you chemists you will know, your byproduct is turpentine. We are the only region in the world where all engines, cars, motorbikes, pumps, all engines operate on turpentine. Why import from Russia when you can make it yourself and generate the jobs? We were told it would not be competitive. And the economists were right. If you only do turpentine, it's not competitive. If you only do colophon, it's not competitive. You create a biorefinery for turpentine and for the colophon, you are competitive. Ladies and gentlemen, in our forestry area, we have regenerated 8,000 hectares of biodiverse forests. We generate so much revenue, we have full employment. We need immigrants in our region. This is not what we usually hear in forest zones. And that experience I want to share, because also if you have a good and healthy forest, then you will have drinking water. we offer to the local population drinking water for free. Because I believe that water should be a commons, should be available to everyone. High quality water for free. So everyone receives 3 liters of drinking water every day for free. And then we have a second initiative. Every child at the age of 6 receives a bicycle for free. You know what happens when children ride the bicycle and drink water? They're so healthy. We had to close the hospital because we had no patients. This is the hospital we opened for the local population, but no patients, no sick people anymore. And if someone gets very sick, we have a helicopter taking them out. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainable development means health, water, basic needs, quality of life, full employment, science, and entrepreneurs who make it happen. Because if you don't have the entrepreneur taking the risk, we're not advancing. As a last example, let me talk to you about light. You know, light is an amazing phenomenon. This is Professor Dr. Shuji Nakamura, who received the Nobel Prize for inventing the LED, the LED lamp. He had a diode, covered it with phosphor, and filtered out white light. But as we know, when you put power into a light, you also generate heat. He has developed the new technology that your lamps will be 1% heat, 99% will be light. Amazing revolution. I see that you have not converted to LEDs yet in this room. But this is the opportunity. Glad you didn't do it, because you would have invested in the old LED lamps. But there is a new science developing on how the eye works. Let me explain. During the day, like now, and these lights as well, we are imitating daylight. And daylight with the blue sky in our brain is day. We get energized. Our eye pupil becomes very small. When our eye pupil is small, we connect in our brain with 5 million neurons. Now it is night. The night light is red. The night light is the moonlight. When we have red light, we relax and we sleep. But our pupil will open up all the way. And at night, our eye connects to 120 million neurons in our brain. That means our brain can see 24 times better at night. What light do we need here? At night, you need to give the brain the night light. So the efficiency is not in the technology of the lamp. The technology is in using what your brain can do. This is the new light we're developing. It will be available next year. We're doing massive preparations with Chinese, Japanese partners, because we will save 40% energy over the energy savings of the best LED lamps today. 40%. But the real revolution is not yet that. The real revolution is the impact of this light on plants. I'm sorry to explain this in a long way to you, but it's about food and the future of Latvia. See, light is what permits chlorophyll to work. You know the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is a very basic chemical reaction that only operates with light. And this chemical reaction allows us to have food produced. But few scientists know that the plants have two chlorophyll, A and B. Why does the plant have two chlorophyll? Well, we know that A has 20 micron difference in light spectrum than B. Now, if you have two different light spectra, and you follow the sun coming up and the sun going down, what do you have? Well, you have a GPS and a calendar. Every plant knows exactly, where am I? They have a GPS. No satellite needed. They know. Every plant knows the day of the year in the DNA. This allows us to reinvent horticulture, farming of food. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a strawberry. We plant it in Brittany in France. Same seed planted in Sundsvall, Sweden. Same CO2, same soil. In Brittany, the strawberry fruit comes out in June. In Sundsvall, Sweden, 3rd week of August. Why? GPS and calendar. Now we have designed the latest greenhouses. And the latest greenhouses allow us to produce salads in 2 weeks. Organically farmed. We only give the light the plant wants. The scientists didn't believe us. And so we initiated a large project in the Netherlands. You know, the Netherlands, they're famous for tulips. They like the tulip. So we committed to a big demonstration of the technology. I suppose in Latvia you also celebrate Saint Valentine, 14th of February. We committed for the first time in Dutch history to have on the 13th of February, the day before Saint Valentine, 50 million tulips, all the same. They harvested. The scientists said it cannot be done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We have now the capacity to do better than what genetic modification can do. We have the capacity to save 40–50% of energy over what we already have. These are the innovations we want to bring to the market. Ladies and gentlemen, energy is going to be a key point for all of us. And gas is key, not only in the geopolitical sphere. We have initiated a series of programs based on the science of seaweeds. We are farming today in 4 countries around the world seaweeds. Now, farming of seaweeds, we succeed in having 1,000 tons of seaweed per hectare per year. I don't know if you realize what 1,000 tons is. If you do genetically modified corn with the best chemistry, you may have 20 tons. We have 50 times more biomass than you can farm on the land. Ladies and gentlemen, Latvia has how many square kilometers of territorial seas? How much of your economy comes from your sea? You could generate all the gas you want from your sea. We've initiated this in Latin America, in Indonesia, in South Africa. The Belgian government has now reserved for the first time 400 square kilometers for farming seaweed. Seaweed to do what? Not to eat, to make biogas. Our calculation is that Latvia would not need more than 400 square kilometers of territorial sea to be 100% independent in gas. 100% independence, while regenerating the biodiversity of the Baltic Sea. We know the Baltic Sea is suffering from pollution. We know it has not been possible to get it in order. Our proposal is, you are great in managing the forests on the land. Why don't we pioneer together to be the foresters of the sea? You have the space, you have the sea. These are just 5 examples of the kind of initiatives we have taken around the world. It's called the blue economy. But as I said before, call it whatever you want. I didn't come here to sell you anything. I came really here to celebrate the fact that my first fable has been translated into Latvian. And that I very much hope that in the years to come, many more of these fables will be translated. I'm here basically to inspire and to share the experiences. And in case you're interested, I will guide you to the people who are doing it. We want capital to be invested. We want markets to move. We want results to be achieved. And if I listen to many of you the last few days while being here, we want 300,000 Latvians to come back and create this nation into what it can be. I think that storytelling is key. If we don't tell a good story, we don't inspire. And in a world where every child is looking at their smartphone, not even looking at parents anymore, we need to know we have to compete with a smartphone, and we have to compete with Pokemon and Hello Kitty. And if you don't have a better story than Hello Kitty, Pokemon, and your smartphone, then you're not going to get their attention. I've tried to implement this in a few places around the world. I'm glad China is a partner. But this is all about creating masters and grandmasters in society. I commend you so much, Rita, for having all the presidents of the nation behind you. I think this is so important that those who lead the country and have led the country support with name and presence. And I think this is part of the exercise of turning masters into grandmasters. You know how it works in China? When you are very good in your field, you are a master. But how do you become a grandmaster? The grandmaster becomes the grandmaster because he learns from his students. The humility of the master is to be ready to learn from the student. And the humility of the grandmaster is to learn from his best students who became master. And that's how we transform society. Because they're grandmasters who guide the nation thanks to the knowledge they learned from their students. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Excuse me. I understand you. Es tiešām saprotu, kāpēc tāda aplausa. But still,
I understand you. Why is the applause?
all these things, we're listening to them and thinking, yes, you're right, wonderful, beautiful, let's do it. And then you're the only one to do it. What's the problem?
Well, then you're not very well informed, because we got 200 projects around the world with more than 25,000 people employed directly. We have 3,000 scientists in the network, 1,000 entrepreneurs, and indeed we started with one. But we're moving on.
So what is the best way to pursue your goal and persuade people to do something, to change something? How can you turn the skeptic into believer?
You don't try. You don't talk to skeptics. You only go with the people who believe, who are enthusiastic, positive, and ready to learn. I usually say that I need people without money and without experience. With them, we can change the world.
No money, no experience.
Of course, because if you have money, you only do what money wants you to do. And that is not transforming society and be disruptive. Money wants you to behave. I'm not behaving.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Vita, prezident kungs, vai drīkstētu lūdzu jūs aicināt?
Mr. President, may I ask you for a picture, for a photo opportunity, and Mr. Zattler as well? No. A picture together.
Vēl jautājums? Sadodāmies. We need one. The president and Mr. President and Vita, of course, please, for the history. Runās. Nē, bet tribīni nevajadzēs. Mēs nevaram paņemt tribīni. Tā, mēs paņemam 1 sekundīti. Jā.
No, we're fine.
Lai noņem stresu, mums vajag aplausu, lūdzu. Tagad jūs saprotat, kāpēc Vita 10 gadu.
Now you see how Vita achieved the success of the campaign for 10 years. Thank you.
We still have some questions in the audience, I guess. So we still need your microphone on. Ja es varēju saprot, jums ir tagad mums nedaudz laika.
We have some time for questions now, so if you have questions, now you can use the opportunity.
Questions from the audience. Vita, es saprotu.
So please use this opportunity. Yes, please introduce yourself. Jānis Brinkmanis from BT1 Green Expo exhibition. My question is as follows. Do your numerous organizations, foundations have some representation in Latvia, except for the community work cleanup campaign?
So you are ready to be the first one. Okay, Jānis probably will come to you after this meeting, official part, and the unofficial part, and maybe he has something more to ask and say. Paldies. Vēl kādi jautājumi? Vai
Thank you. More questions or offers?
All right. So then you told us all the opportunities we already have. And by the way, I remember when I was a kid, my grandma had a place where all the chickens and cows and goats lived together, and chickens upstairs and all the rest of them downstairs. And if you leave all the things inside that room, it is really hot, even in the wintertime. So there is a knowledge already from our ancestors. We just have to remember remember that. So, what is the thing you think we should begin with? So, you saw Riga, you know already our history. What is the first step, and who will make that first step? Because people sometimes are saying it's not about me, it's about government. Government is the one to decide, or it's vice versa.
So it's not one person who starts, it's several different initiatives that all come in parallel. So we cannot put the responsibility on the shoulders of the president. I mean, it is society, civil society, that must take a multiple of initiatives. But I give you an example. When we look at milk price, very practical thing, milk price. The price the European Union pays for the milk is way too low. No farmer is happy with that price. So, our role and responsibility in identifying the business opportunity is to see how can we get 10 times more price, 10 times more money for the milk than the farmer gets today. And the European Union says, not possible. We can't pay more. We say to the European Union, we don't need your money. So in Spain, we implemented the plan with goat's milk. And today, the farmers receive €2.65 per liter of goat's milk. How is this possible? This is not possible when you make a commodity which you sell to the market. But you're Latvia, you're small. You shouldn't try to be on the world market. You should have the best products here. So what we have done in the case of Spain is that we have the goat's milk, and traditionally they turned it into goat's cheese. But you need 10 liters of milk for 1 kilo of cheese. Not good in business. But if you make ice cream with 1 liter of goat's milk, you make 3 liters of ice cream, or 30 times more. So we start with ice cream. You're an ice cream eating nation, and your neighbors, the Swedes, are the biggest ice cream eaters in the world. So make ice cream, please. So
Goat cheese.
Goat ice cream, goat milk ice cream. Then we started making the yogurt, because yogurt also has a good conversion. Then we add fruits and berries, and we sell the yogurt €5 for a small pot to the Germans who want bio. You know, this is incredible. So we created a cooperative. We calculated how many goats can we have in this territory, and then we needed to invite 58 farmers to please come and install themselves, because the goat milk price is €2.65 and we don't have goat farmers, because everyone left the countryside. May I remind you, 2 liters a day, 365 days, €2.65, that's €90,000 per year. We had immediately 500 candidates moving in to become goat farmer. What we forget, and this is important, the opportunities very often depend on what price can you pay. And how do we generate an economy that creates very high price for very good quality? Because you're Latvia, you're not Germany, you're not America, you're not China. You can play a small part of the world market and get a good price for it. In Spain, we succeeded with this goat's milk. What did we need? We needed the science, we needed the entrepreneur, we needed the processing, we needed the marketing. This is civil society. Civil society seeing their opportunities. And we needed the blessing of the government, because we did a few things the European Union did not think was according to the rules. But that's okay.
But how can you get rid of that strange taste in the ice cream from the goat's milk?
Well, that we leave to the experts of the palate. So we have hired the experts, and the most important is that the strange taste and smell that you is also there with the cow, but we add 30% sugar. I don't think we should add sugar. That's not good for the children. So we have decided we have a processing of the fat, so that the fat doesn't create the smell anymore, because it's the rancidness of the fat that creates this taste. So we needed the biotechnology to modify how the fat behaves in the making of the ice cream. And that we have resolved.
And then you can sell goat cheese as milk from the cows.
Well, we're not cheating. We like to stay true to the... In America, you can do that.
No, we don't too.
We don't do that.
Yeah. Vēl kāds jautājums, lūdzu? Any more questions? Yep, lūdzu. Mikrofons.
Sveiki, Artis.
Good afternoon, Artis.
Is money or the base of the science and for the future of the people and so on, the countries and so on? Because in Latvia is the very large amount of people who got the new business and they're like gold diggers. They got the money, they sold for the foreigners and so on. They live in his money and that's his own world, nothing more. It's just, I'm seeing in the Latvia that there's a lot of people like that, not thinking about the future, but thinking about, I got the money, I will buy some brand new car and so on. So how can we change the people mindset that we think about the future, not just only for us? Because this whole Lielā Talka project is for the future and so on, not just for us. So I'm managing to do as well in my workplace and so on, but it's hard to do. It's really hard to do. Thank you.
When you're in a society that has a lot of unemployment, where people feel the opportunities by emigrating from the country, then you must create a sense of belonging to the community. That is not done in one day. That requires, indeed, initiatives that inspire people. I think your great cleanup campaign has succeeded in bringing people together for a common cause, which is not the money. I think you have one of the most beautiful examples in the world here with your grand cleanup campaign, that you can come together. It's not for the money, it's because you believe in the common cause. So what we have done with these goats really was about the future of the goats and the farming. Many people feel that we should do something for the farms, but they don't feel like they should be farmers. And if you ask them, why don't you like to be a farmer, is because they think it's tough. Life is hard. But when you earn 90,000 euro per year, life is not so hard anymore. And so that doesn't mean that they're getting 900,000 euro, but they're getting a just price for a quality of life. And this is where I think that society will evolve. Of course, after your liberation from Russia, after your independence, you of course had people looking for the gold. But I think as you evolve, more members of society will be very keen to build up Latvia as a nation where they can be proud of. And pride is not having 10 super rich people. Pride is you can share, you can be happy, and you can be healthy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Paldies. Thank you, Professor. Nu mums ir ko apspriest.
Now we have something to discuss, what we have heard today, what we are going to do next. In our meeting, we also have a short intermission planned. We would also like to thank the people and organizations who were at the beginnings of this. Thank you to the Chancery of the President of Latvia for inviting us here today. Thank you to the project Footsteps, or Pēdas, who were one of the initiators, also to the Association of Municipalities of Latvia, and to a group of or think tank sought for woods or forests. And thank you to all of you who were initiators 10 years ago to the campaign.